We're shifting into a new paradigm. The world is moving away from living in survival and learning how to thrive. We're shedding everything we have been conditioned to believe and creating a new reality as we uncover the truth within us. The truth is in our bodies, in connection with our sexuality. With this comes change in the way we approach intimacy in all of our relationships. The New Paradigm Intimacy podcast is here to support you to understand how we can better experience sex, love, and connection. Each episode, we will be sharing the voices of leaders who are supporting the shift in the new paradigm by harnessing the power of sexual energy so that you can experience your deepest pleasure and all of your aliveness. Okay, and welcome everyone to the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy podcast. This is our first podcast with the new ownership. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Willis, and I will be your host and your guide today. And today I have Lourdes Starahower as our first guest, and she is a holistic Tantra-informed practitioner and founder and director of the Ecstatic Tantra Practitioner Training Institute. And we are here today to talk a little bit about confidence. We're going to do a little riff on confidence. But before I do that, I want to invite Lourdes to introduce herself. And we were talking briefly before this call a little bit about what she does. So I'll hand it over to you, Lourdes. Thank you so much for being here. And tell us a little bit about you.
My pleasure. I'm happy to be here. So first of all, it's trauma informed, not tantra informed, and so the bigger picture is tantra. But within that, I am a hypnotherapist, regression hypnotherapist, shamanic breathwork coach, EMDR therapist, a somatic healer, and Tantra healer. And my background is psychology. I have a bachelor's in psychology and a master's in wellness. And my work is about healing the whole person, mind, body, spirit, understanding and healing whatever trauma is causing or driving the issue that the person is having, and or whatever issue is in the way of them being able to awaken into full tantric mastery, which I believe is available for everyone as long as they are willing to follow the path of their own self-growth into that. And I'm a reverend, a shamanic breathwork minister, and I also run this training with Aaron Kleinerman, who is also has a psychology background. He has a master's in spiritual psychology. And so we're very much aligned with this understanding that Tantra is not just a Tantra massage. Tantra is uniting sex, heart, and spirit. It's an interweaving between our inner masculine and our inner feminine. And it's a path of sexual, heart, and spiritual awakening. And so it's much deeper than the way most people practice Tantra. And what I like to tell people when they ask me, hey, do you do Tantra and can I book a session? First of all, I ask them what their goal is, what their intention or their outcome that they desire. And then I let them know that Tantra is not a tantric massage, that Tantra is no more a tantric massage than going to a 5-star Michelin restaurant and ordering dessert and assuming you've just had the full experience.
Well, that's wonderful. It's so nice to hear what you do. And you're located here in Miami, Florida, right?
No, not at all, but close. I'm in Palm Beach Gardens. So I'm about 90 minutes north of Miami.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for introducing yourself. So happy to have you here. So today these past few weeks, I've been really journeying this topic of confidence. And this topic of confidence has been coming to me. A lot of work that I do with my own private coaching has to do with relationships and specifically dating. And that's the vein that I've really been playing in recently. And I've been feeling into this, what I've been calling, and I'm sure it's a term elsewhere, but it's something that's kind of landed with me, is this embodied confidence. Mm-hmm. And what embodied confidence means to me is there's like this difference that you can, there's a level of awareness, first of all, that brings a difference to it. And then also a connection with the body and the life force energy that moves through. And the difference that I'm really feeling into at the top level to define it is confidence can be something that we just have some adrenaline and we just like push through and we're kind of like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And I'm just going to kind of like close my eyes and jump. And then what I'm feeling into is this next layer of awareness around what I call embodied confidence, which is having the ability to lean back into, I'm feeling into, it's like more like a life force energy that you're leaning back into, but it could be into like your masculine frame, like leaning back into that as like your truth, as your knowing, like knowing that. And I feel like a big piece of this embodied confidence is validating your own experience, your own internal experience, and knowing that truth, as knowing that there's multiple truths out there, but really leaning back into that, knowing that your experience is real, your reality is real. And then also stepping forward in confidence and feeling all of it, like feeling that threshold that you cross, because confidence, and with my clients, I talk about it in relation to dating, like expressing your desires to a man who you like are perhaps intimidated by or, right? So it's like crossing that threshold and being able to step into and feel all of the stuff that comes up in that in-between space. So, and that's life, like that's that life force. That's like the fear and all of the thoughts that come through, and he doesn't like me, and what am I doing, and maybe he has a boyfriend. So I wanted to put that in the space because that's kind of where I want to go today. I want to riff a little bit about that and hear what you have to say. And yeah,
I'm super excited for this conversation because we're very much aligned in many ways. And just to touch on this dating thing, the 3 points that I want to bring in that support confidence also support your ability to not send your representative on your first few dates. And this is a term that's being used in dating. It's like, oh, within the first month, you don't really know anything about the other person because you're both just sending in your representatives. I don't do that. And I don't recommend that women do that. And so it's like, can I come to such confidence that in those first few dates, I'm interviewing him as much as he's interviewing me. I'm finding out, does he really meet me beyond how handsome, how spiritual, how successful, how aligned he appears to be? Does he really meet me? Now that requires quite a bit of confidence. And I show up completely different because of that. I am not concerned about his intimidating me, or I'm going to turn him off if I tell him the truth about who I am, because I don't hide the truth about who I am to myself. And so I'm completely comfortable in that realm. And so this, just going into that piece about not hiding the truth about yourself, it requires shadow hunting. It requires really dropping in and finding out what triggers me in the world. Where do I project something onto other people and judge them for it? Because those are the two main pieces that let me know where are the shadows inside of me that I need to heal. So a woman who's intimidated by a man that she perceives to be at a higher level than her, that's a golden projection or a golden shadow. That means that she sees qualities in him that she has not yet owned within herself. And until she owns these qualities within herself, she thinks it's all in this other person, but she wouldn't even notice them if she didn't have those same qualities within herself. The same as when we judge people, we wouldn't notice people to judge them, those aspects of them, because if we didn't have those same shadows within ourselves.
Right. Beautiful. And I love that. And I relate to that in the sense of like sticking. If it sticks to me or if it doesn't stick to me. So like if I'm pulled or if I'm like repulsed, like it's a like aha piece. And so, to use this intimidation piece just as a core example, I was in a space a few weeks ago where there was a man who was very tall, and I perceived that he had more knowledge than me. And knowledge is one of my pieces that is, something that I kind of factor into, right? And he was taller than me. So both of those, I immediately felt intimidated by him. And I was like, okay, like this is really, really interesting. My anxious attachment started coming up. I started tracking him. I knew where he was. And I was like, okay, like what is this? Like there's obviously so much information here. And as I went shadow hunting and I, went down inside and I was like, what is he showing me? The intimidation piece around the height had to do with my father, because my father was very tall and he was, very unapproachable. And so that was that piece so I was projecting, this piece of my father onto him. And then the other piece was, me recognizing that knowledge. I mean, I have a PhD in education. I love to learn. Like knowledge is something that I value. So if I perceive that someone else has more knowledge than me, then I feel less smart, right? So it brings those shadow pieces up. So I was like sitting in this realm of like awareness, knowing what's happening, but also being able to, like you said, do the shadow hunting, because it provides just so much information. So as I'm journeying these pieces, right, it's like discovering, these shadow sides, really getting to know these shadow sides. And there's still some pieces of those two traits there. Like it's still what like sticks to me a little bit. So like there's still more there for me, so that's what came when you're speaking to those shadow pieces.
Amazing. If I may, it feels like this intelligence or knowledge is a golden shadow for you because you got a PhD, and it feels like owning. And this is something I went through. I don't have a PhD, I have a master's degree, but I did have to own that I have already arrived at wisdom and intelligence. Because before that, I was always noticing people who I perceived as more so than me. So I love the aha expression on your face.
Yes. And that's so true, because it's that piece inside of me that never, didn't feel smart when I was growing up and felt like I was behind and felt like I didn't get things and all of those pieces. And that's exactly, yeah, what it is.
I appreciate your vulnerability.
Oh, thank you for having this conversation with me. It's great. Yeah.
So I want to just state the three things that I believe, and then we can go into those, or you can state yours, and we can go into all of them, whatever works for you. But the first thing for me, and I know that we have this in common, is self-love. And it's not just about looking at the mirror and saying, I love you. It's so much deeper than that. It's taking yourself out on dates. It's choosing yourself over others. It's saying no to somebody when saying no to somebody else is a yes to you. And it's also self-pleasuring as an aspect of self-love. So instead of, if you're in a female body, going right to the clitoris and doing this, or if you're in a male body, going right to porn and doing this, instead of that, can you begin to love yourself through your whole body, to touch your whole body, and with love as well as with deep presence and deep sensitivity to where is the pleasure, finding and discovering new places of pleasure in your body that are not your typical erogenous zones before you even get there. And when you come into your heart, before you tweak your nipples, coming in and telling yourself, I love you, and loving your chest or nipples from there. And so that, and I know you'd love to speak on that. So I'm going to stop there and let you speak on your self-pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. So we offer at the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy the self-pleasure modality practitioner certification. And I'm now the owner of the Institute, but about 5 years ago, I found myself, for me, sexuality was like my final frontier. Like I had done talk therapy, I had done meditation, and I found myself pulled to enroll in this school for absolutely no reason whatsoever, because I've been an educator for 20 years, teaching, the Montessori curriculum in classrooms, an adjunct at a local university. And it, like, logically, of course, like, it didn't make sense. Like, what am I doing here? Looking to become a sexologist. And so many pieces came up, and I stepped forward and I enrolled. And what I learned was the self-pleasure modality, which is at its root, how we teach it is very much what you explained. And it's the deepening, the intimacy, the learning how to regulate, the coming online of your nervous system. Like, this is how you learn to regulate your nervous system, is through self-pleasure. And what you were talking about with that, like, intentional touch and the power that we have to transform and to heal our own bodies. Like, I'm getting goosebumps as I say this, with our own touch. Mm-hmm. And it was that learning the modality first, it's a 9-month course, but it's, primarily the big piece is that we learn it ourselves and we go through the experience in order to bring others through. And I've been practicing for now about 5 years. I was in a state of not being able to feel, of going immediately to my clitoris. Well, actually, I had a vibrator. So the vibrator did that, like, boom, while I was watching TV. So I remember when the first time I pleasured myself and I actually had an orgasm with my fingers, I was like, oh my gosh, like I had no idea. And I wasn't even trying. It just came, like you said, through the slow exploration. But it is through that touch, through that transformation of touch, that we learn to become intimate with our own nervous system. Like, what is it that I'm feeling? And, in self-pleasure, the way that we constructed it's like a 30-minute practice. It's like a moving meditation where you're continually coming back to the body. Like, what is the body? Okay, then now we're in the mind and we're having these stories, and what am I doing? And I have to make dinner and blah, blah, blah. And then it's back to the mind, and where am I feeling? And how can I, differentiate this touch? And, how does my body want to move? And so I don't really, I know you brought up self-pleasure and then I just took it and went from there, but I want to bring it back to the confidence piece and what we were talking about around, and you said this too as well, like, this is where we really get to know our own truth, because it's in the validity of what we feel in the sensations in our body, which is our nervous system quality and the capacity of our nervous system. And I feel that the opposite of confidence is anxiety, and anxiety lives in the mind when we're completely disconnected from the body and we're completely in story, and the sensations are too much in the body that we can't hold the awareness to feel those sensations in the body. And so by coming back to the body and recognizing, like, yes, okay, I have, after self-pleasuring for so long, you begin to feel those sensations, like, okay, wow, like I just felt this like swoosh come through my abdomen, like that's intense. And just being able to feel that is like recognizing, like, okay, yes, I can feel this. This is my truth right now. This is what I'm experiencing. Don't need to make a story about it. I just need to feel it. And that leads and builds to our outward confidence, because it's like grounding in who we are and what we're feeling. So I'll stop right.
I'd like to add a couple of pieces to that. And first of all, I want to say I love how you bring the nervous system in. That's also one of my pieces. And I hadn't quite brought it into the self-pleasure piece. So I really appreciate that. The thing about self-pleasure also, as an aspect of self-love, is that you teach your body how it wants to be treated. And so if a man approaches me and he goes to grope for my breast, my entire body says no. Or if he goes straight to my clitoris, because I teach people, I'm going to pretend that this is the vulva. and this is the clitoris. I teach people to pleasure the outer lips, the perineal sponge down here at the underneath the introitus, which is the opening of the vagina, then the inner lips, and get to the clitoris after everything else is engorged and aroused. And I teach the whole female, it's called Female Anatomy of Arousal. It comes from Sherry Winston. And what this does is it brings your self-pleasure to a whole nother level of really being erotically aroused, which tells the amygdala in the brain, the part of the brain that is always looking, especially in women, to see, am I safe? Am I safe? It brings the amygdala quiet and the nervous system quiet. And so the woman is able to really feel a high level of erotic arousal. And so the next time a man goes right to her clitoris, it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't feel right. Can you kiss me more? Can you touch my breasts with love more? Can you touch my outer lips? And really wait until I'm fully aroused before you touch my clitoris. In addition, and with a man too, like if you touch yourself, I'm assuming you have male viewers as well. I do. So if a man is touching himself like this all the time with his energy somewhere out there on some screen, usually, or in some fantasy, then he is teaching his body to prefer that from his partner. Whereas if a man learns to really enjoy touching his penis and learns all kinds of different ways through self-discovery, or somebody like me or you, then when a woman goes to touch his penis, he's not going to say harder, faster. He's going to say, oh, that feels so good. Can you slow down even more? Can you look into my eyes and become even more present? Because that's what feels good to his body. It also teaches you how to love another person. So if I am always going tweak, 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 or with a vibrator, then I go to the body of my lover and I'm going to treat them the same way, even if I think I'm not. So I can have every intention to be a great lover, but if I can't be a great lover to myself, my hands, my heart, my eyes, my mouth don't really have the skills. And so one step further on that is that self-confidence is, and this is my second point, is increased by connecting outside of yourself to source and to the earth and to all of nature. And so if I am deeply connected, opening my crown and inviting source, God, goddess, existence, the universe, to come into my crown and infuse my body, to come into my heart and infuse my body with love and divine wisdom into my crown, then I am walking around not as an individual person who has to make her way in the world like I did when I was much younger, but who can lean back, as you said earlier, and feel existence moving through me and feel that I'm supported by the planet if I heal my root chakra and I connect deeply to the earth, and supported by God, goddess, existence. And my heart is already full because it fills when I see a rabbit, when I see a bird, when I hold onto a tree and connect to its roots, when I walk in the woods, when I swim in the ocean. Then I am not as needy of another person. And my confidence builds because I'm aware God, goddess has my back. The earth has my safety. The sky has my guidance and my infinite wisdom. And my third eye is deeply open to truth and intuition. I am a completely much more confident person when I've got that sort of vertical alignment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And oh, that's so beautiful. I love so many pieces of that. And there's a thing, one piece that's coming right away, and then I'll see where that goes. But I also want to speak to how that wavers, right? So how we can be in that confidence, we can, be in that knowing, we can lean back and feel that life force and feel life supporting us, through our body. And we can feel it and we can consciously be aware and act. And there are times when it's not there. And there are times where it disappears, and there's times where you might be looking for it and you can't find it. So this brings about that piece of like, which is so common in, I think, so many different patterns. It brings that piece of like, oh, I want to get back to that. Like last time I made a big decision in life, I was able to make it in confidence, right? However, the mind is categorizing. And I felt it. And this was how I was feeling life. And this was how I stepped forward into this decision. And I stepped forward in my power. And I, I felt confident in making it. And I just can't, like, how do I get back there? I want to go. And the mind attaches to that experience that we've had, which is like, the beginning perhaps of a new blueprint of how we want to move through life. And so the mind attaches to that. And it's like, how can I get back? How can I get back? And I have found myself in this situation so many times where it's like, I want to get back. And it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do the same thing that I just did to get to that place. I'm going to go dance. I'm going to go, right? And so what I've learned is there's a few pieces in here that I've learned, like to accept, right? Like sometimes I'm not going to be in that place and sometimes I'm not. And those are the times when I need to be more gentle with myself. Those are the times I need to be more curious about what else is going on. What other self-love, like you said, do I need at this moment, right? Do I need to disconnect? Do I need to not make this decision right now? Do I need to take more time for myself? Like, what is it that I need to nurture myself at this moment? And then also letting go of that holding on and recognizing that it's like leaning back into that trust in the same way that trust is there, that it's going to appear, right? So it's not like we have to go seeking to find it, but it's there and it will appear. That's what came from that piece.
I love that introspective work and the processing of that and the allowing it to really settle in the body and the nervous system and the mind. And I do feel that going to dance is really great and going to do whatever it is that brings you joy, because bringing you joy in a embodied sense brings you away from whatever that trigger from your past is that's causing you to lose your confidence. And the other piece I want to bring in is NLP. And even if you haven't studied NLP, you can still do this. And that's neuro-linguistic programming. And that is to drop in, once you've done the processing that you spoke of, to drop in, and I like to hold my hands on my heart when I do this, and remember, when was the last time that I felt really confident? And then turn up the volume on the somatic sense of that in your body and your nervous system. When was the last time that I felt that nothing could go wrong because I was in the zone, in whatever thing I'm doing, or on top of my game? And then again, turn up the volume on that and just invite that awareness, the sensations and the nervous system sensations of, this is who I am. I can get back there. And sometimes before you do that, you may have to really drop in. And this is part of the work of hypnotherapy, but I do this all the time for myself, is to drop in and I wonder where in my past a similar situation that triggered my confidence to drop happened. Oh yeah, well, there was the time that I got straight A's in school and I came home so excited with my report card and I showed it to my mom and she didn't even want to see it. Later, show me later. I don't have time for it right now. And then she never asked for it. So I started signing my own report cards as an act of rebellion. Like, if you don't care about my report cards are 100% for me. And I faked her name from then on, all through elementary school. And so it's this like understanding that there is something in my past that drove me to not have confidence in this moment. There's something that this is reminding me of. And most people walk through life completely unaware of, why did I just yell at the person, the service professional who's providing me a service online because they didn't get something right? It's not just that person. I want to go to Harville Hendricks and Helen LaKelly Hunt, who are two of my favorite teachers on finding the love you want. It's imago therapy. And they wrote several books, Finding the Love finding the love you want, keeping the love you find. And for children, for parents of children, giving the love that heals. And what they say in their work is that only 10% of the triggers that are happening in this moment are literally happening in this moment. Unless there's really a tiger in front of you, 90% of the trigger is happening in your past. And so if you can learn to drop in and go, what happened to my confidence in this moment? What triggered me to lose it? And can I then work within that to just say, okay, now I'm going to give love to my little, I don't know, I must have been 10. I'm going to give love to my little 10-year-old, and I'm going to tell her, I care about your grades. I care about your successes. I'm going to pat you on the back every time you do something well. And I am going to hold you in that, and I will never leave you. And that's also part of learning confidence from the inside is, can I be my own pat on the back person? Can I get to a place where I don't even need anyone outside of me to give me gold stars? Because every time I do something well, I give myself gold stars.
Mm-hmm. I love all that. Yes. And like you said, it is building that internal confidence instead of sourcing it to everything else around us. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay. So we are at 30 minutes. We obviously speak the same language. We've just been having a beautiful conversation. Do you have anything you want to add at the end before I bring you to share a little bit about how we can find more of you?
Well, my third,
yes,
sorry.
You had a third piece. Go ahead.
Third piece is to take action. And taking action for me means speaking the uncomfortable things, asking the uncomfortable questions, working in the uncomfortability of conflict and relationships, of any relationships, being willing to speak your truth in a gentle way that other people can hear, and also taking action on that thing. So if I've got something on my to-do list that's been there for months, that is eating away at my confidence. Even if I know it's there, I'm doing other things, I'm super busy, but this thing is like this little snake coming up out of my basement. Going, well, you're not doing that very well. You still haven't done this thing. And so taking action on the things that you need to take action on from an embodied place.
Yes, I fully believe in that. And that piece around like speaking, that for me was also that was a process to open. I mean, not only energetically open the throat chakra, but also to step into that value of what I have to say and speaking my needs and stepping forth. And so I love that. I like will you share those three pieces again, just so we can conclude with your 3 points?
Yeah. So the first one is self-love, which includes self-pleasure. And the second one is, I said I had written down taking action, but I'm going to say the second one is to connect to source, to do some imagery or meditation. And you can find some on YouTube. You can do breath work and open your heart to feeling the support of the entire universe. And then the third piece is taking action.
Beautiful. I love it.
And speaking your truth.
Yes. 3 steps to embodied confidence. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. So before I ask to share about where we can find more about you, I do want to put in that if you are listening to this before September 14th, you can join Lourdes and I in Miami in the Design District at our Enlightenment in the Bedroom event, which is a sex TEDx talk. And it is a great event. We are on our 4th Enlightenment in the Bedroom in Miami. And I really love this event because it is positioned to just be a talk. Like, we're here to share some information with you around sex and relating and intimacy and answer your questions that you might have. And these are vulnerable topics and topics that you might not really have information about, or you might have perceived information around it. And really, the concept of enlightenment in the bedroom is bringing forth and bringing, like I said, exercising that ability to talk about all of these topics. So that's September 14th in the Design District. And then, Lourdes, how can we find you and your work and what's next?
Well, I want to say that Gonzalo Salinas is going to be with us as well in Miami on September 14th. It's a very exciting topic. We're talking about porn. He's an expert on porn, and I had the distinct honor and privilege to be his first Tantra teacher in relation to his past porn addiction. So it's super exciting. He became super successful at his own mastery of releasing porn and becoming a tantric master. And now he specializes in teaching the world. And he's an exquisite being. So it's going to be so much fun, the three of us. And on August 10th, here in Jupiter, I am going to be having an Awaken as Love taster with my colleague Julia Rose Magdalene. And I just got trained in Poland to be a facilitator for Awaken as Love. It's a combination of Tantra, shamanism, integral theory, and biodanza. It's absolutely exquisite, gorgeous piece of work. And then in September, I have a couples event that is available both online and in person. It's all day, September 21st, Saturday, from 1:30 to 9:30, so all afternoon and evening. And I have a Tantra, Ecstatic Tantra, which is the brand name, practitioner training in March of 2025 with Aaron Kleinerman, who is my teaching partner and is absolutely a brilliant man. I believe he's been on your Enlightenment in the Bedroom.
He was the first, yes.
Yeah, and he's just an exquisite co-teacher with me. We have very similar philosophies, and yet we have differences as well. And it's very potent work, this practitioner training that is deep and trauma-informed and holistic. And Tantra massage is about 20% of it, maybe 30%. And the rest of it is everything else that has to do with healing the human. And that's most of it. In the spring, after that, I'm going to do my first Awaken as Love as a co-teacher. I'm bringing in John Skelton Pearson, who is from the UK and is the master of integral theory, an absolutely brilliant mind. And Kathleen Cienfuegos, who is a dear colleague of mine who lives in California and is one of the lead facilitators of Awaken as Love. So it's going to be a really potent dynamic trio.
That sounds amazing. So I'll put all of Lourdes' information in the link for this podcast. And thank you, Lourdes, so much for coming. And yes, looking forward to the next episode. Hopefully we'll see you on the next episode of Institute New Paradigm Intimacy podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to the New Paradigm Intimacy podcast. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Willis, and I am your host and owner of the Institute New Paradigm Intimacy. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found it both activated and vibrated in your body. If you liked what you heard, please be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple and Spotify and leave us a review. It really helps us out. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at New Paradigm Intimacy. For behind-the-scenes content and enrollment notifications for our graduate self-pleasure modality certification course, and more tips as we bring pioneering approaches to sex, business, and relating. Have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions? We'd love to hear from you. Drop a message on any of our social platforms. Until next time, keep exploring your edges in pleasure and leaning into what it means for you to be a part of the cutting edge of sexual evolution.